Matthew Stafford steps to the line. MVP season on the brink. And one hit, one sack, one moment could decide everything. The Los Angeles Rams aren't just winning, they're hunting something bigger. And the entire NFL is watching it unfold.
I believe so. I believe Matthew Stafford is going to win league MVP. He's got 37 touchdowns. I'm looking at him having twice as many touchdowns as sacks. He's only been sacked 19 times this year. He's got 37 touchdowns. He's the league leader with 37 touchdown passes, and he's second in passing yards per se. The Rams have won 8 of their last 9. Puka Nacua is balling out. Vontae Adams got hurt, re-aggravated that hamstring injury. I understand that part. So that's a blow to them for the time being, no doubt, and hopefully he'll be okay eventually. But you look at Kyron Williams, you look at Corum coming out of the backfield. They can run the football. They can throw the football. They can catch the damn football. Okay. And their defense, you know what? They gave a little bit too much in the first half to Jared Goff or whatever. In the second half, it was an entirely different animal. Plus, they neutralized Jamal Gibbs as well. You see the kind of things that they're doing on both sides of the ball. The Rams on any given moment can beat anybody. They're tied for the best record with Seattle. We know that. Short week, got to go up against Seattle. But I'm still of the mindset that when you look at them in terms of their balance on both sides of the ball, I don't think you can look at any team in the National Football League and say that they're better than the Los Angeles Rams.
ESPN.com offseason grades, that's what we're referencing here. The Rams were busy this offseason, but they landed only a C+ for their work, according to these grades. That included trading for reigning Defensive Player of the Year, Miles Garrett, trading for top Chiefs cornerback Trent McDuffie, and then drafting Alabama quarterback Ty Simpson 13th overall. Veteran right tackle Rob Havenstein retiring. The team included Jared Verse in the Garrett trade, of course. Mina, what do you think about the C+ grade for the Rams? I was making it lower than
C+.
It even was. Whoops. Sorry.
It's lower than what I would have given it. I'll get to that in a second. I think trying to unpack here what Seth was thinking, it's a very risky, high-risk offseason in some ways, right? Because the Rams are trying to do two things. They're all in on this year with their big trades, while also spending their first-round draft pick on the quarterback of the future. It looks amazing on paper, but if they were to suffer, say, an offensive line injury, maybe a receiver injury, suddenly you see that there is a cost to this approach, which is you can be a little bit thin. And also moving forward, if they don't win the Super Bowl this year, this is a team that doesn't have the assets in the future to continue adding to the roster. So that's the high risk aspect. That said, why I think it's low is this and why I would have gone higher. The players that they added are legit superstars.
That being said, the impact of McDuffie and the impact, quite frankly, of Garrett. Garrett is at minimum a double-digit sack guy, and he's going to be playing on a team that has a good offense and is going to score points. I think what is going to happen in terms of closing out games, opportunities to close out games, I think is going to change things significantly for him. The idea of him, again, being up around 17 sacks, that is not out of the realm of possibility. So I think a C+ when you add a player of that caliber on a team that's already that good, I'm surprised the grade's not higher.
Yeah, Tim, as somebody who considers himself an expert in all things C+ grades, having received many of them throughout the course of my career.
Right.
Shout out Belmont Hill. So, hey, listen, it's no Severian, but it's a pretty good school. Thank you very much. I will say this about the Rams. The minute they traded for Trent McDuffie, which was the first of these events that took place and eventually finished up with Miles Garrett, it became clear this team was thinking Super Bowl and Super Bowl only at SoFi Stadium next year in Los Angeles. That's how this offseason was going to be measured, whether they made the subsequent move to draft Ty Simpson, which in some ways ran counter to that, or eventually trade for Miles Garrett. I would have gone much higher on this grade, though, because they were amongst the few teams in the NFL, perhaps even one of two teams, along with Seattle, that could say, we are now going to be measured for next season and perhaps the season after that as well, only by winning the Super Bowl or not. They are in that elite tier, and so perhaps they paid overpaid by just a little bit. But for them, the Rams, they feel like the gap between them and Seattle was already razor thin. These moves could push them over the edge, and they could be the team that's atop the NFC West next season and perhaps tops the NFL once again.
Not many teams are going for it like the Rams are.
Yeah, I want to ask you, you mentioned expectations, that. What are your expectations
for Matthew Stafford and the Rams because, they trade for Miles Garrett. Now suddenly everyone's saying, well, this team could go 17-0 and Super Bowl or bust. What do you anticipate happening with the Rams?
Almost nobody goes, well, no one has gone 17-0. Very few teams have gone 16-0 or 14-0.
I mean, the Patriots were 17-0 at one point.
Yeah, and the Dolphins technically were 19-0.
17-0, man.
17-0. It was 14 games at that time. Yeah. At any rate, going undefeated doesn't happen a whole lot. I don't like to put expectations ahead of things, again, because there's probably realistically 12 to 15 teams that think they've got a legit chance to win it all this year. Of those, maybe 6 to 8 really have the firepower, the stars, the depth to withstand injuries to be there right at the end. And injuries dictate a lot of this stuff. But just with the ways that the Rams have approached this offseason, I don't think, I'm not big on championship or bust, but if they don't win the Super Bowl, it is a disappointment. The moves they've made in this offseason are the types of moves you make when you think we are a piece or two away from winning this right now. You give up Jared Verse, who's a good young player. I think he's 24 years old, plus your first-round pick next year, plus 2 other high picks in future drafts to go get Miles Garrett, who is the best defensive player on the planet, coming off of a record number of sacks on a Browns team that didn't give him a whole lot of pass rush opportunities, but he's also into his early 30s. At some point, it's going to come. The drop-off is going to come for Miles Garrett at a time that Jared Verse quite possibly is ascending. So Miles Garrett walks in there as, right now, this is the time, whether it's a year, 2 years, 3 years, however much of his prime he's got left, that's your window. Stafford, again, year to year, you're in the window right now. They trade one of their first-round picks to go get Trent McDuffie. Again, that is a win-now move, and they gave him a record contract on top of it. They spent big in free agency, brought in Jalen Watson, the other Chiefs corner, to go and try to shore up what they felt was a weakness on their team. These are all things you're doing because you think this team can win it today, not 2 years from now. And the Rams have done both sides of this. The whole, Les Snead and bleep them picks and all that stuff. Like, that was true at a time. What the Rams have done as well as anybody is be cyclical about how they approach it. They were in that bleep them picks era for a while when they were going out and they were trading for the Jalen Ramseys and the Brandon Cooks of the world, and they took their run at it. But the way that things work in the NFL is whether it's from any asset allocation standpoint, whether it's your salary cap or it's your draft picks, you can't just be up against it forever. You can't do what the Timberwolves did today and trade a first-round pick 7 years from now. The rules forbid it. Now, the Rams and the Browns wanted to change that rule in this offseason. It was not related to Miles Garrett. I have spoken to people about this. It was not about that. It was both teams like the idea of having more creative ways to come up with trade possibilities.
Yeah, it was about Joe Burrow and Josh Allen.
Bottom line, you can't, we'll talk, it'll come up again. You can't trade picks more than 3 years out in the NFL. And so at some point, whether it's your cash spending over cap or it's having all your draft picks go out the door, which that's your young, cheap workforce, you have to have a recalibration.
Matthew Stafford steps under center, and the entire season feels like it's holding its breath. This is not just football anymore. This is an MVP campaign sitting on the edge of chaos. 37 touchdown passes, only 19 sacks taken, a ratio that screams dominance or danger waiting to strike. The Los Angeles Rams aren't just competing, they are hunting perfection. 8 wins in their last 9 games, and now tied at the top with Seattle. One mistake, one hit, one defensive collapse, and everything changes. But beneath the numbers, something even more unstable is building inside this machine. Puka Nacua is erupting into a star, route running like precision warfare. Kyron Williams is turning the backfield into a dual-threat system. Run, catch, explode. But then, the crack in the armor. Davante Adams re-aggravates a hamstring injury. A veteran weapon, suddenly unreliable in the most critical stretch. And still, Stafford keeps firing. The offense doesn't slow down. It mutates. Yet while the offense survives chaos, the real gamble is happening on the other side of the ball. ESPN called it a C+ offseason grade. Critics laughed until the Rams answered with aggression. They didn't hesitate. They moved for Miles Garrett, the league's most feared pass rusher. They traded for Trent McDuffie, elite secondary control. They drafted Ty Simpson 13th overall and watched veteran Rob Havenstein retire, leaving structural cracks in the line. This is not rebuilding. This is detonation-level risk. Garrett alone changes the math. Double-digit sacks expected, maybe even 17 in a perfect storm. And now the question isn't talent, it's survival under pressure. This is the truth the NFL refuses to admit. The Rams are all in on now. Not next year, not development, now. A Super Bowl or bust structure built on aging stars, traded futures, and razor-thin margins. One injury and the entire system tilts. Seattle waits, the NFC waits, and Stafford, at 37 touchdowns deep, stands in the center of it all. Because in this league, dominance doesn't last forever, and the Rams are betting everything that this moment is the only one that matters.
Yo, mic check 1 to 2, -1, -2. Game over for this video, folks. Smash that like button, drop a comment, and subscribe to stay in the huddle for more. This is NFL Madness, bringing the heat and signing out.